This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily on an absolutely glorious day here in the Peg. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you. We've got a busy show today, getting ready for the Blue Bombers and Argonauts tomorrow night at Princess Auto Stadium. Tickets going fast for that one, well over $30K. Get them before they are gone. I think that, what's the forecast tomorrow? For like 29 degrees, I think, and beautifully sunny. What do we got here? Yeah, well, we do have a little bit of a chance of showers at some point, but 29 should be nice. Yeah, and the risk of the showers are early in the morning, and it's going to clear. It's going to be beautiful for the game tomorrow night. So, I would suggest you want to get there. We didn't have much to get to yesterday on the Bombers because they only had the one practice and it was closed. We'll hear a little bit from Mike O'Shea. We can tell you that the depth chart is out and Dru Brown will be the Blue Bombers starting quarterback. Not a surprise. Although, considering that he was in street clothes last week, maybe a little bit, but obviously pushed into action with Zach Collaros not expected to play tomorrow. We'll dive into that right off the bat and hear from Coach O'Shea. We will be getting the Argos perspective of things with Ben Grant, the Argo analyst for TSN 1050. He's going to join us in a little bit. And then Ken is coming on the program. Ken's actually been doing some Bomber coverage. So we'll talk a little football. We'll get into the Jets off season. And we'll certainly talk about the aftermath of the Anaheim Ducks matching Leo Carlsson's $18 million a year offer sheet with the Philadelphia Flyers. Later on, our guy Aaron Bronstedter's down in Vegas. The notorious Conor McGregor is back in the octagon for the first time in 5 years on the weekend. Listen, McGregor is box office. It's likely going to be the highest grossing UFC of all time, which just tells you the sort of ticket prices that they're charging and the still star power that McGregor has. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Michael Grajewski, listen, I mentioned the forecast. After Friday, sunny 33, sunny 37, sunny 33, sunny 30, sunny 30, prime time of Manitoba summer. Michael Grajewski is going to jump on from Travel Manitoba, and we're going to discuss how you can beat the heat. And ahead of next week's big international rugby event at Princess Auto Stadium, the lone Manitoban on our national team, Kyle Steeves, is going to join us. We'll find out a little bit about his path to professional rugby and representing Canada on an international level, and to find out what awaits rugby fans next Saturday, July 18th at Princess Auto Stadium for the Nations Cup. Just before we bring in Reem, shout out to all you podcast listeners. Welcome to everybody live on YouTube. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Also want to thank all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our big thanks to our partners at CoolBet. Great stuff with Pat yesterday. Our golf parlay is looking pretty good so far. But speaking of CoolBet, congratulations to Eagle Eyes and Poppy Pear. They were the last two standing at last night's WST poker event. They have tickets to the CoolBet Open final, second week of August. 2 more chances to play with us, finish in the top 2, and get your spot in that final. Not next week, the following Tuesday, July 21st, and then Wednesday, August 5th is the last chance qualifier. The final will be the following week. And whoever wins that final is going to be going out to Estonia, representing Canada at a top European poker event, the Coolbet Open. Flights, hotel, events around it, and your buy-in all included in that. So if you haven't been able to play us before, July 21, August 5th, 8 p.m., always a great time with the poker crew, and thanks to everyone that came out last night. Also want to thank Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake and Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, Rolly's Transfer, our friends at St. Vital Dental Center, and Dr. Terry. And, of course, we'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, what's going on?
Yes, just counting down to tomorrow night's Bomber game. Should be a great evening, but a lot of events happening around the city for this nice weather. And yeah, we're going to talk with Michael from Travel Manitoba, but I see Bardo in chat. Folk Fest weather sold out.
I heard that. I was just going, I don't know, I was out yesterday. I had OB on, and Richard Cloutier had the lady from the Folk Fest, and I'm not sure who's running it, does the programming, but whatever. She said she'd been involved in it for 51 years.
Yes.
This is the first time this event has ever been completely sold out, start to finish, before the event happens. So I'm not really a Folk Fest guy. I know you've been out a few times, Remo, but that's just amazing that, an event like that brings people in from all over the place continues to grow. And yes, for all you Folk Festers, you're going to need a fan, you're going to need something for shade, and you're going to need a lot of sunscreen because it is going to be scorching when everyone gets out there at Birds Hill Park this weekend.
Yeah, sold over the first time in 51 years, before it started. Pretty incredible stuff. I did see the Bombers putting out some information about water as well, because you're going to want to stay hydrated. I'll be biking to the game tomorrow. Super pumped.
Doing the bike again? Nice.
Got it. My wife, I told her all about it. We did it last year. Super pumped to be doing it again. And yeah, Sea Bears tonight. I'm going to the Sea Bears game Sunday as well. So there's a lot going on here around the city.
Yeah, there's Eagle Eyes. Eagle Eye took out Hammer too. Nicely done. Yeah, usually the bounties on my head and Hammer's head are credited sort of like the next day or so. So hang tight on that, but very well done on the tables last night. I got to shout out Nick Lyman and the Gitch. They both had good runs that ended short, but they both put me in a locker yesterday. I was very, very disappointed with a couple of the moves that I made last night. But there's always next time, and that next time is the 21st of July. Listen, Reem, we're going to get to... Well, listen, let's get to the Bombers in just a second. We'll get to Mike O'Shea, because I think that'll be a good sort of transition into talking to Ben Grant on the Argos coming in. But the big hockey news today, and I can't say this is a surprise at all, but I will admit I have been more and more giving thought and possibility to the Ducks not matching the offer sheet. We talked to John Shannon yesterday. He was sort of leaning that way, but it has been matched. $18 million AAV, all in bonuses, $39 million of the deal in the first year. Leo Carlsson is a very rich man, but he will be continuing to ply his trade in the OC.
Yeah, I thought they had to match, and it sucks. Like you have to eat this signing bonus, for them. But I mean, this is their number one center. This is their franchise guy. They've been building towards this team, and getting 4 first-round picks for that is not fair value. And, it's going to screw up their internal cap or whatever, but that's their own fault. They kind of made this bed. They're going to have to sit in it. If they want to be a playoff team, a competitive team, you need Leo Carlsson on your roster. And it's better to overpay, a number one center than, to overpay a guy who's going to be on the fourth line guy. You know, maybe they should have had this locked up before signing AJ Greer to that deal, like $4 million AAV. So Pat Verbeek, he's going to eat this one. It could have been avoided. They kept a hard line, and the Flyers swooped in and gave them this crazy offer that how could Leo Carlsson ever say no to that? And, you know, they kept pushing the Ducks for $15 million, as reported by Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, and the Ducks countered with 12.5. And Leo Carlsson said, okay, I'm signing this $18 million AAV offer sheet. Now, the Ducks can't trade him, you know, for this year because that's the rules of matching an offer sheet. But he doesn't have a no-trade clause until the last year of this deal. And he could be a pretty valuable commodity, Huss, if they were to look and deal him after this season. If they said, hey, you know what, we have a grudge against this guy, or this AAV is too high. But it will be interesting now what happens with Cutter Gaucher's contract.
Oh, exactly. And this is kind of what I was saying, that, you know, Danny Briere was going to get one of two things. He was either going to get Leo Carlsson, or Anaheim was going to match, and the aftermath of what has happened is going to really make things difficult for former Flyer property Cutter Gauthier to get his contract. This has done a couple things. First of all, I think it's increased the ask. I've been seeing numbers floated out in and around 15 a year for Cutter Gauthier right now, coming off his 41-goal season. You know, the Ducks aren't going to have the stomach for that, and they're definitely not going to have the cap space for that. With the signing today and the match, the Ducks have $9 million in cap space. They still have to sign Cutter Gauthier. I guess they could do a one-year deal that would be maybe under $9 million. It doesn't sound like the Gauthier camp wants to do that. They want to get their money, and they want it now. And this could end up being a big problem. And he was a huge problem for Philly. Maybe now Daniel Briere has created a bigger problem for the Anaheim Ducks for that player. But when we look at the Ducks roster right now, Remo, something is going to probably have to go to get this deal done. So who are they getting rid of? Is it Frank Vetrano? He's at 4.5. He's got a 10-team no trade. Is it Alex Killorn, who's on an expiring deal, $6.25 million? Chris Kreider is on an expiring deal, $6.5 million. Like, they'll get the cap space next year, and that won't be an issue. It's how they fit Gauthier in this season, and someone's going to probably have to go. The one guy, I mean, we always speak about the center position, and obviously there are high hopes for Vigo. But Mikael Granlund, Remo, 34 years old, 2 years left at $7 million. I think he's a guy the Ducks definitely want to keep around, but that's the sort of player that at a reasonable salary and reasonable term with only 2 more years, to be honest, would be a real nice fit here in Winnipeg. But he does have a 15-team no-trade list, so that might be easier said than done. But I'm very interested to see what Pat Verbeek now has to do to give himself enough money to sign Cutter Gauthier, and what the Gauthier number comes in at. I can guarantee you it's a lot higher than Pat Verbeek was thinking he would have to or was willing to pay a month ago.
Yeah, and, you know, that, again, he did it to himself by driving a hard bargain and maybe not planning for it by, you know, signing a guy like, again, AJ Greer at 4.25. So you look at their cap space now, just over $9 million, and you have to sign Cutter Gauthier. So, yeah, they're going to have to do something. So even though, you know, Philadelphia didn't get the player that they signed Leo Carlsson to the offer sheet, they really put the screws here to Anaheim. And you hope that more teams, you know, it used to be us, teams wouldn't do offer sheets saying, well, I don't want to hurt another team. We're all, you know, in the same league here. But, you know, Philadelphia's saying, hey, we need to get back at Anaheim, or we're theorizing, for, you know, getting Cutter Gauthier, who, you know, just shook his head and wouldn't say and wouldn't speak to Flyers management. And they said, hey, we're going to screw your whole internal cap. We're going to make this guy so overpaid. you're going to have to pay your other RFAs more. You're going to have to trade players because you're up against the cap now. Like, this really hurt Anaheim pretty bad. So I do hope we see some other offer sheets, because this was very fun talking about it. And also seeing, like, hey, for a team like Philadelphia who needs a number one center, I mean, this is a way to get it where that hasn't been utilized. For what? If it's within the rules, go do it.
Is it a way to get it? Did it work?
Well, it hurt Anaheim, so I think I don't know. Like, it didn't work, but I think it was worth trying for sure. What are you going to do? Not try? I mean, even if it didn't work, it screwed Anaheim. They're going to have to trade players away now. Probably not going to trade these guys to Philadelphia.
This doesn't happen in a vacuum. I mean, we just have to go back to the Montreal-Carolina offer sheets, the Aho and then the Kotkaniemi. I mean, I think we can safely say this is a blood feud between the two teams with the orange jerseys in the National Hockey League right now. And Pat Verbeek was a son of a bitch to play against when he was a player. We've all heard about his negotiating tactics. I mean, I can't wait to see what happens down the road when the Ducks have the opportunity to stick it to the Philadelphia Flyers. But the Flyers move on to the next. They don't get Leo Carlsson. The Ducks have a cap catastrophe on their hands. And Cutter Gauthier, at least for the time being, is sort of the odd guy out without arbitration rights, without the ability to sign an offer sheet, and without a contract for next year coming out of his ELC. So it'll be very interesting. We'll be staying on top of it as we get through this NHL offseason and the summer. There was one other NHL note, which is creating an incredible amount of rage online, Remo. And I haven't seen something that was as unanimously panned as this in a long, long time. It's hard getting everyone on the same page, but it seems like just about everyone thinks it's absolute bush league that Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon decided to put all of his children on the Stanley Cup to start the engraving of the Carolina Hurricanes championship, meaning that a player that had 38 games, not on the cup, longtime equipment trainers, their PR guy, people that normally would have a place on there, out for all of Dundon's kids, including, did I hear that right, like a 3 or a 5-year-old?
Yes, he's got 5 children, all on the Stanley Cup. Caden Dundon, Dax Dundon, Dru Dundon, Blake Dundon, and Tayson Dundon.
Dax Dundon.
And
what a name.
Yeah, I mean, one of them is like not even in kindergarten. So that can't go on the Stanley Cup. He didn't win the cup. I mean, PR guy Mike Sondheim's been there forever, not on the Stanley Cup. Seems wrong. So we should say the first Jets 2.0 draft pick ever on the Stanley Cup, Nikolai Ehlers, right there, near the bottom.
Nice that they still had room for Ehlers.
Yeah, still had room for him. Seth Jarvis, Winnipegger, on there as well. Jordan Martinook, Manitoban, his name on the cup. But people very mad online, united, that Tom Dundon, he's done a great job running the Hurricanes. He's getting a lot of heat for how he's running the Trailblazers, which he recently bought. But I feel like, if you don't have an official position with the team and you don't work for the team, you shouldn't be on the Stanley Cup. My level of outrage, I don't think it's very high, but they did scratch out what Peter Pocklington put his dad on in the 80s, and they scratched him out.
Yeah, the NHL actually put X's over Basil Pocklington's name, father of then owners Oiler Peter Pocklington, when they learned he had no affiliation with the team. And as Jason Greger pointed out, how is this different? He said not a great look in his opinion, terrible look. But the one thing I think we've seen, both in Carolina and in Portland, Tom Dundon does not give an F. So he went and did it. Those names are on the Stanley Cup. I don't know whether they're going to go X them all out. The guys that didn't get on it aren't getting on it. And unfortunately, in so many areas of our life, the guy at the top of the food chain, the guy with the money, is the one that makes the calls, and everyone else just has to suck it up. So unfortunate for a number of individuals in that Carolina organization that probably deserve to be on there. But people will forget about this in 2 seconds, and they will move on. We will move on to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And as we mentioned, it's going to be gorgeous tomorrow night. Place should be full. Big game for Winnipeg, following up that big comeback win in pretty adverse situation without Zach Collaros, taking advantage of the injury to Boley by Michal to get to 2-2. Bombers are 0-2 at home. Now, I guess this is technically an Argos home game. We'll take it at Princess Auto Stadium, no problem. But the big question, of course, has been all about the quarterback situation. And it was a closed practice yesterday. We didn't get to see much. But if you recall, at the end of the game on Sunday, we spoke with Taylor Allen on Monday morning. Like, Mike O'Shea was asked, like, well, okay, you trade for Dru Brown for exactly this sort of circumstance. Like, why was he in street clothes and not available? And they said, well, it wouldn't have been fair. They didn't want to, have him out there without full knowledge of the playbook. Well, I mean, this is the shortest week of the year to turn around for a game. One practice, but Dru Brown is at the top of that QB depth chart. And Osh was asked by Freezer if Dru has learned the playbook more during the short week after not having known enough of it to dress in the last game. Here's what Coach O'Shea had to say to that.
No, I think he has a good understanding, that happens in the game, and, you have a better understanding that there's going to be an opportunity possibly.
Yeah. So whether he has the entire playbook or not, it might be forced.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah.
Possibly.
Okay. How much of the playbook can he have by now then?
Yeah, a lot of it. But there's other things besides the playbook
Of course.
that have to happen, right? Like the familiarity of going through a camp with a group of guys is different than just the familiarity with the offense.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you referring specifically to how receivers move and work with him? Is that what?
Yeah, I think, short of playing quarterback in grade 9.
Did you?
Yeah. But I think if I were to stand in their space, they would pick up little nuances of every guy they play with as to what that guy is going to do next and how they think. I mean, you look at some of the great tandems in history. Just look at Danny Mac and Darren Flutie, those guys were on the same page all the time. They knew exactly what each other were thinking or doing based on what was coming up in front of them with the defense, right? That takes time, and a training camp helps, right? So having knowledge of the book is different than having knowledge of the group.
Sure.
Right?
All right, so there, I always enjoy Freezer going at it with O'Shea. And I mean, that wasn't going at it at all, but Paul kind of making a point with this question and Osh doing his weekly dance. But bottom line is it's going to be Dru Brown for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And hopefully the offense has a little bit more juice than it had last week when Taylor Elgersma came in and they had him with the training wheels on while Zach Collaros was off. We'll hear a little bit more Osh. Wieber's going to join us. He's been on the Bomber beat as well as Jets beat this week. But in just a minute, we're actually going to head out east and get the latest on the Toronto Argonauts, who will be here tomorrow, led by Chad Kelly. Just before we do that, do want to thank our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Folks, Clean Line are your residential
No, I think he has a good understanding
with heating and electrical services as well. But they're Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. And the most important thing for Clean Line is that they've got your back. Much like Captain Adam Lowry, 24/7, 365, Clean Line's there for you. We know there's been needs for some emergency plumbing around here over the last few weeks. Mark the number down, 204-500-2001 for 24/7 emergency services when you need it from Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. You can check them out online as well at cleanline.ca and schedule an appointment there. Another big summer weekend. A lot of people taking time off to get out to the cottage. This is the time to make sure you're powered up, and Manitoba Battery is the spot for that. A proud sponsor of the Bombers. They're powering the blue and gold this season. They'll also power an amazing summer for you with batteries for literally everything. Your boat, your dirt bike, a motorcycle, an ATV, your RV. Batteries for everything. And you can shop local, get the best price in town, beating the pants off the big box stores with the best in customer service as well. 2 locations to serve you for Manitoba Battery. Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive in the South End. You can also order online at manitobabattery.com. And hey, folks, if you got a move plan coming up this summer or fall, lean on our friends at Rolly's Transfer to help you out with that. They are the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Family owned and operated for over 60 years. Head on over to their website at rollys.com. Top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. That's where you're going to want to put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they have been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's, the most trusted name in the game. And find out more today online at rollys.com. All right, ahead of tomorrow's Bomber Argo game, let's bring in TSN 1050 color commentator Ben Grant to the program. Ben, it's great to have you back on the program. How are you?
I'm doing well. Love to be here. Excited to talk some CFL football with you.
I love the background. Is that the world famous Toronto Stadium in the background?
It is Toronto Stadium with without scaffolding and a few other things, mind you.
Hey, do you know, we were talking about this today when I was on in Edmonton with Matt Awanek, and I had this same conversation with a friend yesterday, just talking about the game on Friday. Obviously, the Argos are going about things differently than the BC Lions did, and there was a lot of talk about that, missed opportunity to grow the brand and whatnot, but do you have any idea how the finances are working for these 3 games that the Argos are playing on the road? Are they getting a check? Is this just the other teams handle it? I mean, how is all that working? Do you have any idea?
It hasn't really been talked about, but the sense that I got was that, yeah, there's some sort of financial benefit in it for Toronto. Like you don't want to lose out on opportunity to have a gate and so forth. But I think it's a very different situation, BC to Toronto, because you've got in BC, that's the team. It is the only team, whereas you've got 3 different teams in Ontario, one of which is in very close proximity. So it's hard to find, a diehard Toronto Argonauts market down the street the way that you might be able to do so in some other provinces where you're the only show in town. It's not this start to the season with these 7 straight games on the road, not easy, not what anyone would ever want from that sense. But I think the way that you look at it from an Argos perspective is they're coming back to an amazing facility when they do August 6th with these amazing new scoreboards, this world-class sound system, plus all the new suites at the North End, this brand new building that's got up in the North End zone. BMO Field looks pretty fantastic. And so you do have to sacrifice a bit. And it's, I hate it for the fans that miss out on seeing those 3 home games. Because of course, this is a home game in Winnipeg. We had a home game in Regina. We've got another home game in Hamilton coming up. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a better product on the field. The experience in the stadium is going to be better at the end of all this.
I actually was there at BMO, or as it was called, Toronto Stadium, for the Canada game against Bosnia, which was absolutely phenomenal. And I have to say, I went in there, and having been there for other Team Canada games before, other Argo games, Grey Cups, that stadium has never looked as good as it did during the World Cup. I knew some of it was temporary. How different will this look when the Argos get there as opposed to what we saw during the soccer?
Well, the extra stands in both end zones have come down or in the process of being brought down right now, the north and south. And so the stadium from north and south will look very different. Nothing really has changed too much from the east and west sides other than those new amenities that have been brought in. The scoreboards, I'm sure you saw, like, were pretty fantastic. Those, I don't know if they're 4K or whatever, but you've got, I guess, 8 different video boards around the stadium to come up to that sort of FIFA world-class standard. And the sound is that's my favorite part, is the crystal clear sound that you get that seems to, no matter where you are in the stadium, hit you perfectly. So these are among the improvements. And again, that north building, the permanent part, the stands, the scaffolding above it are gone, but the actual building itself is going to remain. And there's like a rooftop sort of patio area too. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do with that for Argos games, but it's going to be a pretty cool experience, I think.
Ben, as far as the squad, how have they been handling this, just being road merchants right now? I mean, they coming back, where are they practicing? Are they spending more time on the road in the places that they're actually calling home? For instance, like Winnipeg. I mean, it's a very unique situation. I mean, how are they doing it these 2 months?
Yeah, it's weird, but they've handled it very well. I give a lot of credit to Mike Miller and the staff for thinking this through in advance. They had a few months to think about this. How are we going to do this? They had options too, like, for example, going from Saskatchewan and then playing the next week in Calgary. They had the option to stay out there, to stay out west and not have to go back and forth. But they've elected to come back and use Guelph as their home base. So that's where they do training camp, and they've stayed in the Guelph area. That's where they're practicing. So that is their home base. In some ways, it's actually been better. What I think a lot of people thought would break this team, being on the road for so long, has actually brought them very close together, because it is like one long road trip. And the advantage that you have from road trips is that camaraderie. You know, you're all together. It's everyone living together, spending time together. That familiarity that sometimes takes a whole season to establish in a football team already exists among this current group. They're very tight. You can see it in, especially if you watch Argos social media, some of those post-game clips where they get together and you see them giving out game balls and so forth. This is an extremely tight unit. And I think that being on the road together for this extended period of time has really done that. Now, I don't think you could last the whole season. The challenge is going to be, can they make it for 3 more games? They've done well so far, 2-2. At this point, you know, I went into it kind of thinking, if you can get back home at 3-4, you're in the conversation. That's a good spot for you. And right now, I think they're sort of playing with house money a little bit.
You know what? It's a great point in that. I mean, I remember, and full disclosure, I mean, didn't know what to expect. I mean, we knew Chad Kelly's a hell of a player when he's healthy, but I mean, there were massive question marks as to how he'll be. Dinwiddie's gone, but they did move Miller into the head coach spot, so you have some continuity. And then all those road games. And I mean, if you look at preseason predictions, both at the sports books, both for the talking heads, I mean, I think people thought that the deck was just stacked against the Argos, and this was going to be a team that would be 5-13 and, you know, would work through some problems with the first year under Mike Miller and look ahead to next year. Well, that hasn't been the case so far. I mean, this team has been incredibly competitive. The offense has been absolutely lights out. Unfortunately for the Argos, as great as the offense has been, so have opposing offenses been against their defense. I mean, thoughts on the first 4 games at 2-2 coming into Princess Auto Stadium tomorrow?
Well, I think we thought the offense would be pretty good. They didn't really change much. DeVaris Daniels left, but he hadn't really contributed the same way over the last few seasons, and they had Makai Polk and DeMonte Coxie stepping up. But it's been so good offensively, they haven't actually had an opportunity to bring Jake Herzlow in. He's averaging about a touchdown a game, and he can't find his way onto the field. And they added Dakota Shepley, who's playing right guard. He's a former first-round pick, played really well in his rookie season in Saskatchewan before doing the NFL thing. So we knew that the offense was going to be as good, if not better, than last year, and I think it is better. Defensively, we thought there would be more improvement, I think, than there has been. And it starts with getting a pass rush. I think they're playing very well in the interior. I've been very impressed with Ralph Hawley. Soani Toya, he's a new name. He's a global who I didn't think much of in camp. He's lights out. Like, they've got Dwayne Hendricks sitting on the bench in the same situation as Jake Herzlow. They're both listed as reserves for this game against Winnipeg. They can't get on the field. Those are great players, but they need to generate a bit more pressure from the edges without being able to send blitzes every snap. And I think that would help out those DBs, because it's a good defensive back room. They've had some issues with some new faces, some turnover, some injury at safety. But these are players that you would expect to produce, I guess, lower yardage numbers than they have so far this season. So we'll see this week if there is an improvement. There has to be. Like, Vernon Adams looked as good as any quarterback can look last week. And I know this Toronto defense, it didn't feel good about that. They're going to come into this game with an agenda for sure.
Now, what about Chad? I mean, God, he's looked amazing at times. The one thing that I'm sure he would like to, kind of nip in the bud is these picks. He's got 8 interceptions so far for 12 TDs. And listen, the points have been prolific. What do you make of the lack of ball security on the part of the QB, and just overall thoughts on how good he has looked most of the time this year?
Yeah, well, this is a little bit of what you get with Chad Kelly. And I think for better or worse, the success that you see, the highlight reel plays that you get from him come at a little bit of a cost, that there is volatility in that. He is the typical gunslinger who is going to take chances. If he sees he's got a guy in a 50-50 situation, he'll put the ball up. He'll put it in the best place he can possibly put it. But a lot of times that ball is going to be picked. And that's the exchange you get for those amazing catches you see from Coxie, from Polk, from Common, who's newly emerged, Kevin Michal, Dave Ungerer. These guys are making great plays, but Chad Kelly will put the ball in harm's way if he thinks there's a chance his guy is going to come down with it or make a play out of it. And so as a Toronto fan, you sort of live with that. It's part of the excitement of having a gunslinger at quarterback, is it doesn't always work out, but you just hope it works out more times than it doesn't. And it has so far this year. He's at the top of the league in touchdown passes, throwing the ball extremely well. But I don't think the picks are going to vanish. He would like to clean some of those up. There were a few that I know in a few games where he's just made throws he shouldn't make. And those have got to be cleaned up. But some of them are just, that's what you're going to get when you throw up 50-50 balls at times.
Ben Grant's with us from the Argos broadcast team, getting us ready for this 7:30 tilt tomorrow night at Princess Auto Stadium. We knew the Argos were stacked at receiver. Kevin Mital's had an amazing start to the year. Coxie, stud, Polk. David Ungerer, Tyler Kamen. Fill us in on these guys, because, the one thing Chad's done is really spread the ball out. And you mentioned that these guys are playing ahead of Herzlo, who was a bit of a revelation at the end of last year, and I think everyone had high hopes for this season.
Yeah, Herzlo's good, and he's pushing really hard. He was the last guy on the practice field yesterday, staying out to get extra reps with Nick Arbuckle and working as hard as he can work, because he wants it. He wants to get back there. But it's been tough. These guys have played so well. So Dave Ungerer, he's always been a bit of a possession receiver, a nice outlet for Chad Kelly when everything else breaks down. There's always Ungerer on the comeback route to the wide side of the field. But he's been a little bit more than that this year, because teams at the start of the season were paying so much attention to the boundary side and looking at Coxie and looking at Polk that it opened up those field side receivers. So you saw Mital jump out with huge numbers. Ungerer became less of a possession guy and actually a deep threat, was catching deep balls, was catching touchdowns, and that's not necessarily been his thing in the first part of his career. But Tyler Common, really interesting development. Emporia State, like a guy that I hadn't heard much of going into camp. I was amazed. The first time I saw him play, I'm like, who is this kid? And going back to watch some of his college highlights, it makes sense. Like, he was the guy. He was the star of that team, the star of that league. He was a touchdown machine, and he came into a situation in Toronto where he didn't need to be that. He needed to be number 5. And so for him, this is just what he does. He goes out there and makes plays. You see him going up for jump balls. He's finding space in the end zone for touchdowns, seemingly getting a touchdown every week, except the one week that I tell everyone he's going to get a touchdown. And that's Murphy's Law, of course. But yeah, he's played so well that, yeah, you've got Jake Herzlo sitting and waiting for his opportunity. It will come at some point, but these guys have not given him any space to get into the starting lineup.
They've certainly been some nice fantasy pickups for people like myself. That's team was a disaster early on, and guys have been pretty serviceable so far. It is going to be interesting. Obviously, Dru Brown starting for the Bombers changes things a little bit from a Winnipeg side of things. When I look at this game, Ben, and I guess we'll see what the offense looks like with Dru Brown, but I think you could argue that even with Zach in, the Bomber offense has been sort of a step below most of the top ones so far this season. I wouldn't be surprised that as much as, we've got Dru Brown in and he loves to sling it and he's been with Tommy Condell the last couple of years, the Bombers are going to try to really establish Brady Oliveira and try and have some longer drives. And at the end of the day, try and just keep Chad Kelly in that offense off the field. Tell us about the run defense of the Argos and the challenge that they'll have to try and get Jamison Sheehan, the Bombers punter, onto the field.
Yeah, it's the Argos run defense has actually been very good. It started to wear out a little bit in the second half of that Calgary game. When you've got Mills pounding the ball in the fourth quarter, that tends to open up.
Yeah.
You're playing at altitude. You're exhausted at the end of a football game. If you take that fourth quarter of the Calgary game out, Toronto's run defense has been very good. Now, a problem for Toronto this week is they're going to be without Cameron Judge, the star Will linebacker who's been around the league for a long time. Great player, great run stopper, but also great at tailing backs out of the backfield. And so Owen Goss is going to get the start for Toronto this week at the Will linebacker spot. They're going American there, which is causing them to just flip some things around ratio-wise. In the secondary, for example, Ethan John, the rookie out of Windsor, is getting the start at safety. He's played a little bit so far this year, but pretty limited. And, we don't typically see rookie safeties get a lot of starting action this early in the season. So we'll see what that looks like for the defense. But I would be very surprised if we don't see the Bombers test Goss at that linebacker spot. I think this is going to be a very Brady Oliveira focused offense. It often is anyway, but I think even through the passing game. So aside from the typical runs that we know we're going to get that they seem to be able to do at will against Hamilton last week. I couldn't believe that actually. That last drive where, second and 7, run Oliveira for a first down, keep running. And they were able to do it. Toronto I think is going to provide a little bit more opposition there against the run, but that's where Winnipeg will probably use Oliveira out of the backfield and see if Goss, the newcomer here, can keep up with him. And even if he does, can he make the tackle one-on-one in space? It's easier said than done. So I expect this Winnipeg offense to kind of live and die with Brady Oliveira this week.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you as well. And as I say, we'll see. At a certain point, you need to be able to stretch the field. It was a little funny. As I mentioned, Elgersma had the training wheels on. They weren't really letting him do much. And for us, and we've been having some fun going back to last year, one of the more infamous games in recent CFL history, where the Bombers beat Dru Brown and the Ottawa Redblacks. Chris Streveler had 3 completions in the football game. Dru Brown threw for over 400 yards and lost at home to a team that had 3 completions. It was, but again, it's a huge confidence builder, I think, for the Bombers coming into this game, the way they were able to. Everyone knew what was happening. They were giving the ball to Brady Oliveira over and over and over again, and they were able to get those first downs. They were able to get it into Sergio Castillo's field goal range, and they were able to win the football game. That was a weird game in a lot of ways, especially, while we're getting like 90 points in some of these games, and the books can't make the totals high enough for over-unders, that we have this 14-13 game. But it just goes to show the importance of quarterbacking right now. And let me ask you, and I'm sure some Argo fans, obviously, you feel for Bo Levi Mitchell, the person, an incredible star. But how screwed are the Hamilton Tiger Cats right now in your mind, considering what's left of that quarterback room and what we saw on Sunday of Trey Ford and now the starter, Jake Dolegala, which I don't think many people thought would have been the case?
Yeah, I don't really understand the thought process there. And even listening to the comments after the game saying like why they were platooning quarterbacks, I think the rationale they gave was that you've got quarterbacks that are more comfortable with certain plays. To me, like we're talking about guys that are 5 years in the league that have been, they're not just added this week like Dru Brown. Like these guys have been there all season long. You would expect them to be further along with their preparation. So I was a little surprised at that, and generally how they've managed that quarterback room. You have to do it with some sensitivity. Like I want to put that back on Winnipeg for a second and look at how they managed their quarterback situation, which I think was better. I think maybe some people looked at that game and saw, well, they don't trust Elgersma to make throws. That's one way of looking at it. But I think from a coaching standpoint, you can look at this as, look, this is a young kid. He's getting meaningful game experience. We don't want him coming away from this feeling like he lost the game for us. let's give him some confidence. Let's win this football game. We think we can do it this way. Let's get a win under his belt. Let's get a touchdown pass under his belt with that little shovel that he made to Wilson, and give him some confidence there that he can then grow with. Maybe feeling that he's not quite ready for this yet. He will be, but let's get him some positive vibes here so he didn't just go into Hamilton and cost us a football game. Instead, he's one of the heroes that came out of Hamilton with a win, and now you can maybe turn it over to Dru Brown, who's got a bit more skins on the wall and experience under his belt, so he can go out there and maybe a bit thicker skin too, because he's had years in the league and he's had ups and downs. You don't need to worry so much about him feeling like he cost the team the game. And also, he's been pretty good against Toronto. You look at Dru Brown's numbers over the years against Toronto. I don't think there were too many Argos that were thrilled to see he was suddenly in the building for this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing with Dru Brown, and listen, I hope I'm wrong. And I mean, maybe I'm just thinking about that game that I referenced last year. But the thing with Dru, a lot of times, like, the numbers can be big, but at times they've been empty calories. I think we lost Ben, but it did feel, I mean, like that game, I think back to, all the damage they did kind of in between the 10 and the 25-yard line, and then the inability to get anything done in the red zone, the turnovers that they made. Obviously you can't take it all from one game, but the bottom line was he did put up big numbers at a number of cases, and they didn't win. Obviously, it's a team game, and there is defense that was a big part of that. Remo, I guess we lost Ben, eh? Or did we lose Michael too?
Oh, what happened? We lost Ben?
Yeah.
I guess we lost him. I don't know what happened to him.
Well, that is unfortunate. Ben, I mean, such a great guy to talk CFL with. I did want to see what his thoughts were on the Calgary-Montreal game. But anyways, we'll thank him. He is part of the Argo team with the radio team with our old buddy Mike Hogan. But appreciate Ben Grant jumping on the program today. We're going to have Ken come and join us in just a minute. But, let's get to this other clip. Back to the Bomber side of things. This is O'Shea on having such a short week and going into this game with some uncertainty at the most important position on the field.
Besides crazy and hard is a heightened awareness and the possibility of greatness, right? Like, that's what you get. There's lots of stories of when guys, are sick. They got the flu and they could barely get out of bed, and then they have a game for the ages, but they can't remember a thing about it. So at times like these, you end up with some great stories, right?
Last thing, what was it like to see your defense finally stop the run?
No, I was there. Once again, if you have a good understanding of why the plays are making yards, then you can see the corrections, and you can see the guys working for those corrections, and you know that they're professional and they work hard at it, and they know the mistake when they're coming off the field. You don't even really have to tell them much. Some of the young guys maybe a little more, but so you're on your way.
All right, so there's Coach O'Shea. Wiebe was down at Princess Auto Stadium today. He'll join us in just a minute. Speaking of Princess Auto Stadium, that's the place to be tomorrow night for the game. Tickets still available, but not a ton, so grab them. Let's fill it out and keep the sell-out streak going for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Bombers home, the squad, and, of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. And while tomorrow night, the place to be will be Princess Auto Stadium. On the weekend, if you haven't checked it out, the place will be is the brand new Princess Auto flagship store at 500 Panet Road. You will not believe it until you see it. Get down there and check it out like so many other Winnipeggers have over the last few weeks since the grand opening. Of course, princessauto.com as well. You can shop 24/7, 365 and take care of all those projects on your list or start something new. Big weekend coming up. Glorious week of weather. Many of you on holidays. This is the time to get out there and have some fun. And you know who can help you with that? The Derminator and the gang at Chud's Power Sports. Manitoba's power sports superstore for over 80 years in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. The Chuds team is waiting for you folks with the best in new and used vehicles, including motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats, and outboard motors, not to mention recreational vehicles, as well as Argo and Polaris off-road vehicles. They have it all. They have the best staff with over 140 years of experience of putting Manitobans into machines of their choice, and they've got amazing financing options as well. You can check out what they've got and what they're cooking on their website at chudspowersports.com. While you're there, make sure to click on True North Parts or that e-commerce store up in the link to head over to a ton of amazing deals on clearance gear and accessories. But the best thing to do is pop on down, see the Derminator and the gang at Chuds Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore, waiting for you in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. Big shout out to our friends at St. Patel Dental Center. Folks, if you are needing a new long-term home for you and your family at the dental clinic that's been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans for years, St. Patel Dental Center is the spot. Our pal Dr. Terry would love to take care of you and your family. They handle clients from 6 months to 99 plus with the full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They do it all at St. Patel Dental Center. So check them out online, stpateldental.ca. Make an appointment and pop in and see him at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. Again, the website, stpateldental.ca. And just as we bring in Wiebe, we're back with the World Cup, folks. 3 o'clock today, France and Morocco going at it. Oh, this could have been us. This could have been us. But it's not. But what it can be is a great time to get down to your local Boston Pizza. Great World Cup promos through the end of the tournament. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and the big game on all the screens with big sound. I will be getting to BP right after the show today. You should too. And hey, if you are staying at home, you can always order Boston Pizza online and get it hot and fresh to your door at bostonpizza.com. All right, Ken Wiebe time on the program. What is going on in Wiebe's world today? Ken, how are you?
And Andrew, great to be with you as always, my friend. Just got back from Princess Auto Stadium and the Dru Brown show about to begin in earnest here. Or we'll see how long it lasts, but we'll see it on Friday night. At Princess Auto Stadium. Dru is, he's a little bit understated, but exuding some confidence and excitement about what will be his first start in a home uniform for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So going to be an interesting Friday night at the stadium for you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, kind of nice, getting a little bit of time outside as opposed to all that time in the rink. What was the mood around the Bombers, when you were there today? It's a strange, very, very short week. They had 1 day of practice. It was a closed practice. You're switching quarterbacks, and they are 2-2, but yet 0-2 at the Fortress in South Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange, Huss. I mean, it's been a place where the Bombers have done a lot of winning here during their kind of peak years, I guess, if you will, but the mood is upbeat. Obviously, as you know, short weeks are interesting, but as Mike O'Shea pointed out to the assembled media, that even though there was only one practice, there was a lot of behind-the-scenes work being done with Dru and the receiving corps and the entire quarterback's room as they prepared, and Mike saying he only made the decision this morning to go with Dru Brown. Caleros getting close, I guess, in his estimation, but we know that Mike doesn't like to rule anybody out. But Dru Brown's been putting in the work. Taylor Elgersma did a nice job. Obviously a little bit more conservative offense for the Bombers last week, but at the end of the day, Elgersma got the job done. But Dru's the guy they brought in for this sort of insurance policy situation, Huss, right? So again, they think very highly of him. That's why he's getting the nod this week. It's not a indictment of Taylor Elgersma or anything else. This is just, when you put that kind of capital into bringing in someone that you didn't really want to leave in the first place, it makes a lot of sense to me that Dru would be getting the call. And Elgersma will be on standby like he was last week when he had to come into the game for Zach. So, yeah, I mean, I'm talking to Nick Dembski, Brady Oliveira, guys like that, Patty Neufeld. These veterans have a lot of faith in Dru. They know that their game is sort of trending in the right direction for sure. But again, I mean, the Bombers are not where they want to be either in terms of their record, Huss, or in terms of their production on, any of the three facets of the game. I mean, there have been signs where the Bombers have looked really good, and there have been times where, there's obviously room for improvement. But, 4 games into the season, I think they'll take where they are. But, to your point, I mean, they'd like to make Princess Auto Stadium a place that used to be in kind of almost an automatic win for the home side. So I think they're going to want to tidy up a bunch of different areas here as they prepare for their 5th game of the season here. Oh, you're muted, my friend.
You muted there.
Sorry about that. We just had Ben Grant on, and I was mentioning, I think there's a lot the Bombers can take out of the way that they won that game in Hamilton. Now, listen, it was a weird game when both quarterbacks go out, but essentially you took the quarterbacking out of the game, and it became a challenge for Jordan Younger's defense, which has had some very sketchy moments this year, to buckle down, keep the team in the football game, and lean on that offensive line and lean on Brady Oliveira, and that is exactly what they did. And when you can do that at a professional level in the 4th quarter with a game on the line where everyone knows what's happening and the other team can't stop you, that can do a lot for a team moving forward. Now, Ben was just mentioning that the Argo run defense has been pretty good before kind of falling apart late in the Calgary game last week. But this is going to be a huge challenge for the Bomber defense because they have had at times so far this season really been picked apart by top quarterbacks. And Chad Kelly's been doing a lot of that this year. Now, he hasn't taken care of the football very well, but he's leading the league with 12 touchdowns. And when that offense is on, they're a handful. So this is a big, big challenge, I'd imagine, for Jordan Younger's unit, and they're going to need to be ready to go. Did you get much on the defensive side of the football from the Bombers this morning?
No, Huss, my focus was on the quarterbacking situation. So I think Major Williams was speaking to some reporters, but I was not in on that scrum. But yeah, I mean, these guys, yeah, this is one of the guys I interviewed during training camp, and again, they went at him a lot last week. Huss 10 targets, I think, or attempted targets, and only 3 completions. And Williams all obviously had that interception. I really liked what I've seen from him. But yeah, I mean, people were obviously talking about the explosiveness of the Argos offense here this year, Huss, and Bombers defense knows that they're going to have to be ready to elevate. And it's been sort of Jekyll and Hyde-ish, right? There have been times where they've been very good. Last week was another great example of Jake Serezna getting involved. Willie Jefferson kind of looking like that quarterback shark that we've seen, throughout his tenure here with the Blue Bombers. And when the Bombers are able to get pressure on those high-end quarterbacks, they're able to cause some picks on the back end as well. So I think it was important for them to kind of buckle down late to get the big interception, as I mentioned. There had been times where they had gotten the stops, even against the Elks, but they couldn't get that last stop, right? So to me, this is obviously going to be one of the stiffest challenge. Obviously, Bo Levi Mitchell in the first meeting was absolutely kind of picking them apart at times. But yeah, I mean, complementary football. I mean, it's become kind of a staple of the Mike O'Shea era, and the Bombers are going to need to get back to doing those things in all 3 phases if they want to get some sustained success here. Obviously, they've got 2 tight victories, and they've had 2 defeats where they weren't at their very best. So as they get kind of closer to that 1/3 point of the season, they want to be sort of trending upward. And despite some upheaval on the offensive line, and now they're going to be using their 4th quarterback of the season here when you're looking at the short yardage situation and everything else. I mean, it shouldn't be a big surprise if you've had that much turnover. We know it's a next person up kind of sport, but there's been quite a bit of upheaval, and I guess maybe it shouldn't be a huge surprise that they haven't really been clicking on all cylinders. But to your point, when the offensive line gets rolling and when Brady Oliveira starts pounding the rock the way that he did against Hamilton, the Bombers offense can be very dynamic, right? And that's going to open up other things in the passing game for Pokey Wilson, Nick Dembski, and all of the other weaponry, Tommy Neild and those guys as well, Tim White. So it's going to be interesting for sure, but I'm expecting them to, this has sort of been a slow build, I guess, maybe, if you will, Huss, but feels like, in terms of talking with Patty Neufeld, they feel like their offense might be ready to kind of have an explosion. Now, having said that, the Argos defensive line has been very disruptive in the early stages of the season here as well, so they're going to be challenged this week as well.
Wiebe, let's move over to hockey just before we talk Jets off season. Anaheim had to hold their nose and do it. Just thoughts on the Ducks matching the offer sheet and the predicament that they're in, and where the Flyers go from here after their big swing at Carlsson.
Yeah, it's super interesting, right? I mean, it's one of these things that is being debated in many circles. Enjoyed the conversation you had with John Shannon about it yesterday. Yeah, I mean, it was going to be quite honest, Huss. It was a point of debate this morning at Bombers practice or during the walkthrough. Yeah, I mean, it's not an optimal situation for the Anaheim Ducks. There's no doubt about that. But let's look at the big picture here. I mean, the Ducks went through some turbulent times and some struggles to get a player of that caliber at second overall in Leo Carlsson, right? So any of the first round picks that they would have been getting from Philadelphia, it would be probably very unlikely, unless they won the lottery, that those picks would be in the top 3 or 5 or maybe even top 10. So it's easy to say put the package of the 4 together and try to find a center to replace him. But Huss, I mean, never mind a 2C that has been hard to acquire for some teams. Leo Carlsson is a two-way number 1 center who's in his early 20s. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was I know auto match sounds crazy when you're talking about the dollar amount, Huss, but it's something that the Ducks had to do. Now, in terms of the predicament, I mean, yes, they're probably going to have to sign Cutter to a bigger ticket than they wanted to. But, part of the debate we were having at the stadium today is that, yeah, sure. I mean, if you're Cutter Gauthier, you'd love to get $15 million, Huss, but you're not playing a premier position. You are a elite goal scorer, yes, with 1 year of elite production and 1 year of very good production. You're going to get paid, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, the resetting and the calibration of the salary structure, it is true. And there is more money in the pool with the cap going up significantly, but not every player is going to be getting automatically 12 to 18 million because they have one offer sheet signed either, Huss. I mean, although all the agents will be pushing for it, and they should be, the fact of the matter is that all this is going to do is raise the bar for the elite player and probably be another step towards eliminating the quote unquote middle class player, right? There's going to be more league minimum guys, and you're probably going to have to see more ELC guys on the rosters when you have an $18 million ticket. So again, I think there's a lot of initial shock value, Huss. But I don't think this automatically means every RFA that's a very good player is going to be shooting for or getting 18 to 17 to 20 million here. I just don't think that that's going to be the case. I mean,
I'm with you. Although the Gauthier situation is sort of fascinating, and we know what happened in Philly. And I mean, listen, some people disagree and say that I'm nuts. I really do think that this was going to be a win-win for Philly one way or the other, because they were either going to get Leo Carlsson. Well, they didn't. The other option is that now the Ducks do not have the money to sign Cutter Gauthier. He can't sign an offer sheet. He's an RFA. He doesn't have arbitration. They certainly made things a lot more difficult for Cutter Gauthier's agent to get his deal done, and maybe that will be of some solace in Philly for not getting their guy. But as far as what Pat Verbeek does, and listen, we can talk about Verbeek blowing it earlier with maybe overplaying his hand with the tough negotiations and having it blow up in his face. But Leo's there for $18 million a year now for the next 5 years, walking him to free agency. They only have $9 million. I don't think anyone thinks that's going to get it done with Cutter Gauthier. which means that they're going to have to make a move. Now, they do have some older players, that are probably easier to move because they don't have term on their deals. Kreider's 6.5. He has a 15-team no trade. Alex Killorn 6.25, 15-team no trade. Both of them contracts expire at the end of the year. Vetrano's got 2 more years at 4.5. The guy that's intriguing to me is Michael Granlund at 7. The thing is that I don't think that they feel that they can move off a guy that's so valuable in the middle and plays center. How do you think Pat Verbeek is going to thread this needle?
Yeah, I mean, Vetrano was a healthy scratch a lot, Huss, down the stretch and into the playoffs, much like Ryan Strome. He sort of fell out of favor there, which is kind of odd because he had kind of been one of those, like Nino Niederreiter, Huss, kind of been an automatic 20-goal guy. But again, the other complicated matter for the Ducks is that Troy Terry, one of their more productive wingers, he just had off-season surgery and he's going to be out for a while to start the year. So although you'd like to get rid of some of this, complementary scoring at the bigger tickets on the expiring contracts, well, they're also can't really afford to get off to a bad start either, Huss. So yeah, I mean, they're in a tough spot for sure. But they'll find a way to get it done. I mean, you talked about it yesterday. I mean, having to go, almost twice the price on Mitnikov is a tough one too. But again, this is a guy who's going to be a top 4 stallion for them. He's sort of like, I think he would be trending towards what Dylan Samberg should be for the Jets, right? More of the shutdown pairing guy that can give you a little bit of offense here. So again, they probably wanted to get that under $5 million, but circumstances being what they are. They're going to have to do some shuffling of the deck chairs and a little bit of maneuverability and maybe even having to attach an asset to one of those contracts. But I mean, Kreider kind of had a renaissance year for them. I don't think he certainly wouldn't be at the top of the list. Killorn is a guy who, again, Stanley Cup pedigree, has been a productive player. They'd love to keep him, but Huss, these are guys that, eventually somebody's going to have to move. So yeah, I mean, he's got some swimming in upstream waters, I guess, if you will. But teams generally have a way of, we've seen a lot of, untradeable contracts get traded. So not saying that either one of those is that, but they'll find a way to get cap compliant. But Huss, the bigger issue now is that we automatically assumed after watching how fun the Ducks were last year that they were going to take the next step as an organization. Now, no offense to some of the guys on that back end, but they lost, almost their entire right side or a good chunk of it.
No, they did. Carlsson, Trouba, Gudas.
Right, that's what I mean. I mean, they had other guys that played, Moore and some of those guys, but I mean, and we talked about it. I mean, Jackson Lacombe is an emerging star, Huss. I mean, he's probably already a star, and that $9 million is now a bargain at half the price of Leo Carlsson. But now Jackson Lacombe is going to have to play some heavy minutes. I mean, he's already playing a lot, but I mean, he sort of, before he had, I'm not saying he had insulation or required it, but I mean, it's just a fact. Their defense core looks like a shell of itself compared to last year. So, I mean, it's not, and again, they still have some other guys coming up, Tristan Luneau and, Hines had a nice playoff at times, but I mean, they went from being in a really strong position of strength and building and looking like they might be, taking the Pacific by storm to there's going to be an element, Huss, of treading water now for the Ducks. And they kind of felt like they were, coming out of the rocket ship, and now all of a sudden they're throwing the life preserver over a little bit and trying to steady themselves here. So yeah, I mean, and it's always, we know it's a copycat league and all those things, and there's still a couple big RFAs available. And I mean, again, if you're Philly, was this a one-shot deal, or do you now try something similar with like an Adam Fantilli who also does not have arb rights and would be a high impact, he's not quite the same two-way player as Carlsson, but he's an impact player. So I'll be curious to see what the next kind of steps in this process are, not just for the Ducks, but for some of the other teams in terms of guys that they're targeting. What does this mean for Jason Robertson? Like, there's all kinds of other things that are there's a lot of upheaval right now, Huss, for some franchises. So it'll be interesting to see how some of those things settle down.
Well, the Robertson's fascinating. Just the fact that he turned down 15.5 from Seattle. It seems like he wants to stay in Dallas. They don't have the money for him, and I would imagine that probably plays out this year, and then we see where we go from there. as far as the Jets go, things have quieted down a little bit, as they often do, coming out of the draft and free agency. Can we take your temperature on the Hellebuck watch as we get into the second week of July?
Yeah, I'd say, Huss, it's in the sort of, it's on the back burner of the oven at this current time, or in the deep freeze, wherever you're storing it, Huss, whether it's the pantry or whatever. I would say that I'm not saying this is tabled, but Huss, this is very simple. I mean, you talked a little bit about it with Murat yesterday also. I mean, if the Jets had an offer that has blown them away, we wouldn't be talking about this situation any longer. But now that it's lingering, I mean, teams are kind of retreating to their corners and sort of resetting and trying to figure out what the next move is, both internally and externally. And, there's probably phone calls going around. I mean, one side thought this should have been done already. The other side says, well, just be patient and all of those things. And again, as much as we've called this is sort of like a game of chicken and or a staring contest, the next opportunity to really blink us is in September when training camp starts. So there's really no impetus. I mean, again, unless there's something that has happened that we are unaware of, and this has really reached the point of no return or whatever you want to call it, then it is status quo, Huss. I mean, the fact of the matter is the Jets have Connor Hellebuck under contract for 5 more years. And if the player wants to get paid, he's got to show up to go to work. So, and again, Huss, I mean, this is something that everyone's talking about it. I get it, but I still have, I got to do a little bit more research, but I don't remember the last time a player without a contract just didn't show up for training camp, Huss. So
player with the contract.
That's what I mean. Sorry, with a player with the contract. Yes. I mean, and so somebody pointed out to me, oh, well, Dustin Byfuglien. And I'm like, that's a totally different situation. And also Dustin Byfuglien never played another game, Huss, and there were injury concerns and all of that other stuff. So to me, that's not a good enough comparison because it's not an apples to apples scenario. So
let me hit you with this though. And I only bring this up because Elliot Friedman's the most respected and connected voice in the game. I'm sure you caught this on Monday's edition of 32 Thoughts, where he expressed doubt that things could be smoothed over in the fall, which I don't know, was a little surprising to me. I mean, I'm with you. It seems pretty cut and dry. Hey, we don't have an offer that makes sense for us to trade you, so we can't trade you right now. So we'll see in September. I mean, are you getting any inklings that could be problematic with him coming back? Because I was a little surprised when I heard that.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is not a surprise. I worked with Elliot for 3 years, and I consider him a friend, and we talk about issues such as this one. And Elliot's not pulling this out of thin air. He's not. We wouldn't be reporting this if there wasn't some, something to it. But again, I would just say this, Huss. I mean, we know, and we've talked about this a ton. We know that the Jets have dealt with similar situations. We know this is probably the most extreme scenario or example because of the prominence of the player being a franchise pillar. Now, Laine, I think you could argue, was already in franchise pillar status, but he wasn't a league MVP at the time, right? So, or 1 year removed from it. So again, I'm not disputing the reporting, and I respect the reporting, but again, I don't have that on the record, so I can't say with the same level of authority that he is saying it. But I would say that I think that on the Jets side of things, though no one has told me this, like just following the breadcrumbs, Huss, and the playbook that we've seen for the last 15 years, we thought that Laine was at the point of no return, and he started the season also with the Jets, Huss, right? So that's my closest point of reference. But again, I mean, you've been talking about this as well. Now, how do the other players feel about this situation? Now, if you're a teammate of Connor Hellebuck, you understand it's business and everything else, Huss. But how are you feeling if someone is basically, you have to feel like the player is bailing on you as a teammate, do you not?
For sure. So
again, everyone's a professional and everyone will show up for work and get the job done, I expect. And if the Jets get to the point where that's not the case, then, there's not a real playbook for this. So you sort of deal with things. We always hear this. Kevin Cheveldayoff doesn't like to deal in hypotheticals, but you're going to have to be prepared for both scenarios, I think, Huss, right? So again, what we know is this. If the Jets are listening to offers. Kevin Cheveldayoff has said that publicly. But they're not just going to say, here, have this player who has given us more than a decade of service and is a 3-time Vezina Trophy winner for what they do not consider to be fair market value. Now, you're going to be looking at the other side of the coin and saying, well, what damage could it mean by having the player stick around? I mean, sure. But again, when's the last time a player of that magnitude got moved in a deal where the team doing the trading didn't feel like they got something worthwhile back? And Huss, we've been talking about it. Having Stuart Skinner sign with the Jets, it's a long-term play, even though it's only a 2-year deal, Huss. Like, these are 2 years for Stuart Skinner to establish his situation, right? We both expect that if Hellebuyck is moved and if Skinner plays well, the Jets will want to hitch themselves to that wagon on a longer term deal. Now, how long that takes remains to be seen. But, having Skinner around, that would even, we just were talking about Dru Brown. I mean, this is not just Hellebuyck insurance. They believe in the goaltender, for whatever role is going to be available. And Huss, you don't think that Stuart Skinner signed a deal to be a 15 to 22 start guy. I mean, based on his workload and usage during his time in the National Hockey League. I mean,
they have the same agent too. Like, I don't think Ray is guiding Stuart Skinner to Winnipeg on a 2-year deal if he doesn't have a pretty good feeling that there's going to be plenty of starts there. And we all know that the starts aren't there if Connor Hellebuyck is there. So
right.
It'll be the soap opera that we continue to talk about throughout the season until something happens one way or the other. Are you at the game tomorrow night for the Freep, or you're just filling in for Taylor on a day off?
No, Taylor and I both doing double coverage. I will not be there tomorrow, though. I've got a wedding in Brandon, so I will be we'll be watching from afar.
Oh, I can't wait for the Twitter pictures of you with no shirt and the tie wrapped around your head around.
That won't be me. That won't be me.
Weaver,
if there's a tarps off, it will not be. That will not be belonging to me. Us.
Just very quick update on the Manitoba Golf Tour. How are you feeling? How have you been playing? Have you been maxing out your time? This next week might need a little sunscreen. Might get ready to be hot, but this is going to be. And the courses, my God, are the courses in great shape?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to see us. I've been able to get out and play a little bit. I got out to Scotswood Links, was able to get out to Toulon with our pal Paulie Edmonds, and had a really big breakthrough. It's been very up and down. Let's go there, but big breakthrough on Saturday at Maplewood. Course was looking great, and Huss happy to report a crisp and tidy 75, which 5 over. Yes, it is yes. I understand it's a shorter course in terms of length, but
hey, they don't.
It's the best. Huss,
it's 75.
It's the best that I've played in a long time. The career low was 74 at Southwood, but that was the 2020 year where I played a lot of golf when I was semi-unemployed, if you will, after my time at the Athletic and COVID trimmed my employment until Sportsnet was kind enough to pick up the slack for me there. But it felt pretty good. And as you mentioned, I mean, courses around the province looking absolutely fantastic. And and also too, you talked about it with Jonas and John yesterday, but obviously this week has been tough in our industry, and thinking about the folks all around the country, but specifically in our sports world, a lot of our friends were impacted by the news in both Calgary and Vancouver. And we're thinking of those folks, and you are a prime example of what you can do when facing a similar and tough situation. But obviously, it's something that as sports folks we don't like to see. But it's another reminder to keep betting on yourself and putting out the good work. People will need stories that are told, and good storytellers should always have an opportunity out there. But yeah, it was a tough week, and I know you've been thinking about a lot of folks out west as well.
Yeah, you bet. Wiebe, well said. Great way to finish it off. Have yourself a great weekend, and again, take it easy at the wedding. You have a reputation.
Great to be with you, my friend. Have a great weekend, and we'll get out to Breezy soon, my friend. Cheers.
See you later. That segment with Wiebe brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers and the Toyota Tacoma with the standard iForce engine boasting an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. It's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. And the available panoramic multi-terrain view monitor gives you a live underfloor view to navigate even the toughest terrain. So experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. And right now you can lease a 2026 Tacoma from $110 weekly at 5.69% APR for 60 months with $70.99 down at your local Prairie Toyota dealers. All right, we've got lots to get to. Speaking of this heat wave, we're going to do a segment with Michael Grajewski from Travel Manitoba on how to beat the heat in a bit. But first up, we're going to go to Vegas and connect with our pal Aaron Bronstetter on the return of Conor McGregor, the Notorious, to the Octagon this weekend. We'll remind you, though, that with the World Cup quarterfinals getting underway, you won France jersey, England, Argentina, some of the remaining squads that are still going for glory. Royal Sports has you covered. Your World Cup headquarters with the best in Team Canada gear as well as kits from around the world. They've also got, what's it called, the Trionda, the special ball for this year's World Cup. Many people want those as souvenirs and so much more. So get down to Royal Sports. While you're there, check out the soccer, softball, tennis, baseball, running section, as well as the biggest selection of casual shoes around and the amazing bike department in the back with tons of really cool e-bikes as well. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports, Manitoba's sports superstore, family owned for over 50 years, 750 Pembina Highway. Get on down and see them, and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Our friends at the Fish are back at it tomorrow night and throughout the weekend with a series against the Gary South Shore Railcats. Perfect time to take advantage of the beautiful summer weather at Blue Cross Park with your Winnipeg Goldeyes. Friday night is a 7 o'clock start. It is boy band night. There will be fireworks. So a great way to kick off the weekend tomorrow night with the Goldeyes. Saturday, it's a 6 p.m. start. Saturday night, happy hour at the ballpark. And then family day, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. Goldeyes baseball. There's nothing like it in the summer. Get your tickets today at goldeyes.com. And don't forget, team on the road next weekend. But next Saturday is the Ballpark Brew Fest. And I know we've got some tickets to give away, which we'll be doing for that as well. But you go to the Goldeyes site, sort of like a little mini Flatlanders, all at the ballpark with the best in beers from around the province. Sign me up for that. And hey, shout out to Remo and myself. We both had nice nights at the track yesterday. Main Dude got the win. Messi the Great got the win. So we're looking good heading into next week, and we're excited for next week because we've got 3 days of live racing next week at the Downs, starting on Monday with all their great Monday special concession deals and wiener dog races on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as well for live racing. Make an appointment or a reservation in the dining room if there's availability, or just get your crew and head on out to the track. Free parking, free admission. No better place to be on a summer night in Manitoba than Assiniboia Downs. All right, we're going to beat the heat. We're going to talk a little rugby as well with the lone Manitoban on the national team. But right now, let's head out to Vegas and get ready for the return of Notorious Conor McGregor with Aaron Bronstetter of Sportsnet. Congratulations in order. Another nomination for the MMA Journalist of the Year. 4 in a row, AB. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. It's always an honor to be nominated. I love it. I mean, I don't ever win because it's fan voting, and I mean, I'm just a small fish up here in Canada. But at the same time, it's the nomination that really means the world to me, just to be recognized by a committee of my peers for the work I do.
How do we rally the troops and get some more votes in going your way against some of the biggest names in the industry?
Well, if you know anybody who knows about running Russian bot farms, that would be awesome if you could connect me with them, and then we can make this happen.
By the way, you're down in Vegas right now. Before we get into the fight, how's the weather? Are you enjoying your time outside today in the July heat of Las Vegas, Nevada?
Well, thankfully, I'm not outside today, and I'm limiting that to the extreme because I mentioned to you guys before we came on that on Monday, it was the lowest high of my entire trip, and it was a high of 40. So that was the lowest high, and it's been basically consistently, once like 11 a.m. hits local time, we're like consistently in the 40s. And it's just no bueno. It feels like you're walking around and somebody's got like, you're surrounded by people holding hair dryers going at like full power, just radiating heat on you at all times. So I'm trying to just stay inside in the air conditioning, and maybe I'll go for this hotel has a pool, so I might go for a swim at some point in time outside. But that's about the most that I would want to do outside while I'm here this week.
Yeah, keep your sandals on. You will burn your feet, and that will make running around for your job very difficult. Aaron, so McGregor's back. I mean, he's the biggest name, I believe. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, still the biggest name in the sport. One of the few guys that truly transcends MMA to pop culture. But it's been a while. Like, when was the last time we saw Conor McGregor in a UFC octagon?
All right, so I'm going to give you some context here because that's a great question. So the number of days that it took from his UFC debut for him to win 2 championships and then box Floyd Mayweather, that duration of time was less than the duration of time since we've last seen him compete in the UFC. That's to put into context how long it's been. It's going to be almost 5 years to the day since he last fought in the UFC. So it's been a minute.
So what the hell has he been doing? Like, I think, was he running for president of Ireland or something at some point? I mean, I know he's not entirely staying out of trouble. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's been, I wouldn't say it's been entirely off the rails, but it certainly doesn't seem like he's been focusing on competing in mixed martial arts. He has a stake in bare knuckle fighting championships, so he's been doing some of that. He's been embroiled in a bevy of different legal issues. He was found guilty in a civil trial for sexual assault. He, like you mentioned, is running for office in Ireland. Not doing a whole lot of training. I mean, he was scheduled to fight Michael Chandler 2 years ago, so he did have a fight camp for that. And we, if you watched UFC Countdown leading up to this event, you saw there was a guy that he was training with where he threw a kick and it landed on the other person's elbow. That guy's actually a Canadian named Tristan Cato. He's a Canadian wrestler who went to Ireland to train with him because he's like, you know, kind of a stockier build wrestler like Michael Chandler. Tristan's probably around 5'7", you know, kind of stockier guy. And they were using him for reps to emulate what Michael Chandler was going to bring to the table. And he got injured for throwing a kick and it landed on Tristan's elbow. And McGregor's coach kind of took accountability for that because he said, usually we wear padding there, but it was like one of the last rounds of sparring leading up to this fight with Chandler. And he had to pull out of that because he broke his toe. So he would have gone through a training camp at that point in time. But outside of that, no combat sports competition for 5 years.
And yet this is scheduled to be the highest grossing UFC event ever. He still is box office.
Yeah. I mean, I think it also has to do with ticket prices going up across the board for events, but yeah, he still brings in big business for the UFC. It looks like he's on a 2-fight deal right now. They had to restructure his deal because so much of his deal had to do with pay-per-view points. And now in the United States with the events on Paramount Plus, where you just need a monthly subscription, he can't monetize that. So they put together a new deal. And from what Conor says, he's fighting on Saturday, and then his next fight's going to be in April. And then that's the end of the contract. Whether they extend him or not, I think the results will be the biggest driver of that.
Now, I guess the biggest question for all of us casuals who can't wait to see McGregor get back into the octagon is, Like, who is Conor McGregor right now, 5 years removed from being in the octagon? I mean, you sat down with him for Sportsnet, and folks, you can go to the Sportsnet site for all Aaron's great coverage, and you can see the interviews with both McGregor and Max Holloway. Like, you covered this guy for well over a decade. What stood out to you from McGregor in 2026 heading into this fight?
Yeah, that's the big question, Marcus. What's he going to look like? Because 5 years away from the sport is an eternity.
Yeah.
So we're going to find out what he still has. Speaking with him on Tuesday, it was interesting because there was a lot of tension, it felt like, around him. And that's kind of always the case. He rolled deep. There were a lot of people there with him. But he certainly didn't seem like he was in the best of moods. Just from talking to him, he seemed very intense. There was a lot of intensity from speaking to him. So I don't know what to make of that. It seemed like when he did media yesterday, he did his big kind of media availability. It was a little bit more laid back. He still seemed very intense, but he was smiling a little bit more than he was on Tuesday. So, it's hard to read into what that means. But from if I had to make a guess, I think that there are some nerves going into this fight.
I mean, he is the underdog, and a pretty significant underdog for, I think, some obvious reasons. And he's not going up against just a tomato can to get him back in. I mean, Max Holloway's the real deal, and a guy that's fought just about everyone. I mean, just give us your thoughts on this matchup and the challenge for Conor, and I mean, the fact that he is nearly a 2-1 underdog.
This could be one of the best value spots that we've seen in a long time in combat sports. But when I say that, it might not mean what you think it means. I think Max Holloway should be a 7 or 8-1 favorite in this fight.
Oh, wow.
Max Holloway's been fighting elite talent for this entire time since Conor's been away. He's been winning, he's been losing, but he's been fighting the best of the best, and he's still got it. McGregor's been away from the game for 5 years. It's a 5-round fight against a guy who has an insane chin and is known for his cardio. And if this fight gets out of the first round, I do not think Conor has much of a chance. And Max Holloway has been knocked out once in his career by Ilia Topuria, who right now is one of the elite fighters. I know he lost his belt at the White House, but I still think Ilia is one of the elite fighters in mixed martial arts right now. That happened at 145 pounds. This fight's at 170 pounds, where he's going to be more hydrated and his chin should hold up even better. So if McGregor, like, this is just me saying this, I'm not like an analyst or whatever, but I would be floored if Conor McGregor won on Saturday. I think that when I see that Holloway's a minus whatever 215 favorite, I think that number is way too low based on what we know about these guys right now. And McGregor, I mean, the public money always comes in on McGregor. When he boxed Floyd Mayweather, one of the elite boxers, probably the best boxer of that era, I think is very safe to say. It got to a point where Mayweather was only a minus 250 favorite against the guy who had never boxed a day like professionally in his life. And McGregor, like Mayweather, was the best boxer of that time. And his number got all the way down to minus 250 because Conor McGregor, when he talks, people believe what he has to say because for much of his career, that was the case. He said he was going to do something and he did it. But that Conor McGregor hasn't existed for a long time. I hate to say it. So that's just my read on it from somebody who's just being a realist here. If Conor McGregor wins, I think it's great for the sport. I think it makes the sport way more interesting. But I'm looking at what the data that I have in front of me right now, and I just think it's a bit of a reach.
You know, there is an element of like the cult of personality for Conor McGregor. You're right. I mean, he has such an incredible way of speaking that he can, whip people into a frenzy, and he really can get to belief. And I'm sort of with you. I was shocked that it was as close as it was, just based on the question marks around McGregor and what we know about Max Holloway, fight in and fight out. I mean, listen, McGregor, win or lose, will always be one of the biggest stars in the history of this sport. But considering the way his last few fights went, considering this time off, how important is this fight and presumably the second fight in preserving his legacy? Like, if these two fights go poorly and that's it for him in the octagon, Will we think of him as a big star or more a guy that was box office, said a lot of stupid and crazy things, got a lot of headlines, but ended up being kind of a disappointment for the incredible potential that he showed early in his career?
Yeah, I think that there's certainly a what-if element to his career, because for those years that I mentioned, from his UFC debut to when he won those 2 championships in 2016, this guy was unstoppable. He was on an absolute heater. He was doing unthinkable things, knocking out Jose Aldo in seconds, taking on a wrestler like Chad Mendes on short notice, even just accepting that fight and then winning and delivering, going into a weight class and winning a second title, which nobody was really doing at that time, and making it look so easy against Eddie Alvarez. That was a special time. And if you weren't there when he was doing it, you might not understand how significant it was. But so much time has passed that it's the lasting memories of the fans that came in, especially during the pandemic when so many new fans came to the sport. Their memory of McGregor is going to be him going 0-3, and if he fights again, maybe 0-4, and they're not really going to get it. And the same thing kind of happened to BJ Penn. Like when BJ Penn was the prodigy and he was fighting at all these different weight classes and beating guys, and just was one of the most feared guys in the sport, ended up sticking around way too long, losing, I think it was 9 fights in a row, something along those lines. And then things that have happened after his career have ended have been a little bit alarming in terms of his personal life. If you weren't there for when BJ Penn was doing what BJ Penn did, you might not understand what made him such a special athlete to begin with. And I fear that could happen with McGregor. That said, BJ Penn didn't transcend the sport like Conor McGregor did, where McGregor became this household name and really put the sport on the map and helped make it big. I mean, when the UFC sold to Endeavor, that was right when Conor was at his peak. And the valuation of the company at that time, it sold for what people thought was too much money. And now you look at what it's worth today. And I think that a lot of that is owed to what Conor McGregor did to help elevate the sport to where it is.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Max Holloway, I'm not sure. Is he an all-time great? Will he be if he gets this win and probably the biggest spotlight he's ever had? Correct me if I'm wrong. What's on the table for him?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that Max Holloway's resume is better than McGregor's. And I probably personally would argue that. I think that what he's accomplished in the sport has been remarkable. Of course, they fought before. Conor McGregor has a win over Max. But I think that Max, he's moved up to 155 pounds full-time now. This is, of course, a fight at 170 pounds. I don't expect him to stick around at 170 pounds. I think it was just accepting the terms of this particular matchup to get the rematch with McGregor that is bringing him to 170 pounds. But we've seen him beat the best of the best. He's beaten Jose Aldo twice. He's beaten Dustin Poirier. He's beaten Justin Gaethje, the current champ, at 155 pounds. So he's got some great wins on his resume. And I think if Max ends up winning this fight, it puts him into conversations for title contention just because he has that win over Justin Gaethje, who's the champ. So I think the stakes are actually quite high I think Max Holloway probably has a lot more to lose in this fight than McGregor does. I think the expectation is that he's going to win this fight. So if he loses, I don't know where his career goes from here.
Obviously, everyone's going to be waiting for the main event on Saturday for UFC 329. And by the way, you pointed this out on X, but the 129 how is 29 such a big number when it comes for UFC in these big events? Because for whatever reason, when they get to 129, 229, and now this one, they're massive, massive events in relation to the other 100.
Yeah, it's very strange. And I think it's a total fluke. But if you look at the main events from UFC 100, 200, 300, those are the marquee events of the sport. You could argue that the main events for 129, 229, and 329 are bigger. 129 was George St. Pierre versus Jake Shields at Rogers Center. It's still the only stadium show, to my recollection, that they've done in North America, and still holds the attendance record in North America. It was a massive event. UFC 229 was Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov, which at that point in time was the biggest fight they'd ever done. Did massive gate and was an incredible rivalry fight. Might still be the pay-per-view record, if I'm not mistaken, for views. It's definitely in the mix. And then 329 is this event where McGregor's coming back and is going to set the gate record. So for whatever reason, these events ending in 29, aside from UFC 29 itself, which was Tito Ortiz against someone. I think that was the last event that the UFC did before Zuffa bought them. If I'm not 100% on that, but I think that's the case. That event you can kind of put aside, but 129, 229, and 329 have all just been marquee events for whatever reason.
As I said, everyone's going to be waiting for the main event, but what's up with the rest of the card? Anything for that we should be paying attention to? Any matchups that you're particularly looking forward to that should provide some more entertainment outside the highly anticipated main event with McGregor and Holloway?
Yeah, the co-main event's fun. It's Benoit Saint Denis against Paddy Pimblett. They're going to be at the press conference as well as main and co-main, so they're putting the spotlight on Paddy Pimblett, who's one of the more marketable fighters in this sport. He had a chance to win the interim lightweight championship earlier this year against Justin Gaethje and fell short, but he's somebody who I think is an important fighter in the UFC. And in terms of sheer entertainment, there's a flyweight fight between Brandon Royval, who was one half of the duo that won Fight of the Year at the World MMA Awards last year with the champ Joshua Van before Van was champion. And now Royval is going to be fighting Lonnie Kavanaugh at flyweight. And I think that fight is going to be dynamite. I mean, Brandon Royval is one of the most consistently exciting fighters in the UFC right now. So if you don't know him, he's a guy, if you want to look up some fun fights, look up Brandon Royval. So that's a fight that I'm personally really looking forward to. Plus, the debut of Gable Steveson, who is an Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. Yeah, so that's happening in the prelim. So you can watch that on Sportsnet. He's facing Alicia Ellison, and he's making his UFC debut. So that's a big future star to look out for in the UFC, and it might be the biggest favorite in UFC history. Also for that fight, I think he's like a minus 8,000 favorite or something along those lines.
Couldn't cut it at WWE. Had to go into the octagon. Steve's
and the NFL. We got an NFL practice contract with the Bills, if I'm not mistaken, something along those lines. That just goes to show the sort of athlete that he is. That people are interested in all these other realms.
You mentioned Pimblett. I'm a huge Paddy the Baddy fan. Just his character. I think a lot of people thought because of how colorful he is, the way he talks, what he's done online, that there was a lot of bark, not as much bite. Is he more like, is he a real top 10 fighter? I mean, he's a contender. What's his future like? And because he has had some losses, but he's also had some pretty big wins. I just never know whether he's kind of more a guy we talk about all the time because he's hilarious to listen to, do interviews, or actually one of the top and upcoming fighters.
Well, I thought he presented himself well against Justin Gaethje. I thought that was a relatively close fight. It was pretty clear that Gaethje won, but I thought that Paddy was hanging in there with him. I thought that his strategy was a little strange without bringing grappling into the mix that much. But Benoit Saint Denis is the real deal, and I think that whoever wins this fight will establish himself as a true top 10 lightweight, possibly even top 5 lightweight right now. I think that Benoit is a very tough challenge for him. Benoit's the favorite in this fight, but I also think that Paddy Pimblett has a lot of these intangibles that could make it a difficult fight for Benoit Saint Denis. I don't think it's necessarily the worst matchup for Paddy Pimblett. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what he has against. It seems like he kind of made the jump from fighting guys that weren't quite like elite lightweights to fighting an elite lightweight in Justin Gaethje, and he fell short. I think that middle level of the top 10, like anywhere between like 4 and 8, he hasn't really fought, and that this is what's really going to be the test of how good he is.
Sportsnet's Aaron Bronstetter in Vegas getting us ready for the return of Conor McGregor on the weekend in UFC 329. I know you've been busy. You sat down with McGregor. You sat down with Holloway. Just fill people in on all of the coverage you've got out of Vegas available at the Sportsnet Content Factory.
Yeah, so we'll be on the red carpet at the UFC Hall of Fame today. Some big names entering the Hall of Fame. You got the likes of Demetrius Johnson, who's the greatest flyweight of all time. Dominic Cruz, arguably the greatest bantamweight of all time. Chris Weidman, who had those 2 spectacular wins over Anderson Silva when he was at the peak of his powers. They're all getting into the Hall of Fame. The fight between Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Zhang Weili is going into the Hall of Fame. The greatest, with a bullet point, female mixed martial arts fight ever, in my opinion. So I think that those are some massive names. And also in the Builder Wing, Tom Gerbasi, who was a journalist that contributed to a lot of the content that the UFC put out, sadly passed away last year. And I'm glad they're honoring him. He's a real icon, at least in our space, for writing in combat sports. He's also in the Boxing Hall of Fame. So I'm happy to see him get honored. So we'll be on the red carpet for that. The press conference is today, so I'm sure you'll be seeing clips from that all over the place once that thing pops off. And then tomorrow we got our morning weigh-ins for the official weigh-ins, then the ceremonial weigh-ins later on in the day. And then the fight's on Saturday. So that's what the next couple of days look like here in Las Vegas.
Well, it's going to be a fun few ones for MMA fans. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people that maybe don't watch every week, like myself, are going to be locked in to see what we got from McGregor after 5 years out of the octagon. Aaron Bronstetter, thanks so much, my friend. Stay cool out there in Vegas.
I'll do my best to stay in my room, and then we won't have any problems.
Take care, pal.
All right, thanks for having me on, Hustler.
All right. I admit I'm going to watch on Saturday night for McGregor. But I do love Aaron's take that the best value in the world might be Max Holloway. I think Michael Remis may have done a little Bombers Holloway parlay over a cool bet while we were doing that interview. Listen, I do want to thank our friends at Aikens Lake. Hey, it's a great time to get out fishing. And if you are thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in a couple hours from the city of Winnipeg, including the flight, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge is the spot. Check them out online at aikenslake.com. I can assure you that the world-class fishing, you can see all the big ones coming out of the lake in their Aikens Lake social channels, is world-class. But the hospitality might be even better with the Aikens team and the Turen family being such wonderful hosts. Booking well into 2027 right now. Maybe some availability later on this year, though. Check them out online at aikenslake.com. Holler at our pal Pitt, and they will be more than happy to take you up, and you will thank me later for that. All right. Little Breezy Bend golf report right now. What do we got going on the tour? Well, of course, they're overseas. It's the Scottish Open. And I can tell you that myself and Pat Gregor are pretty happy with the way things shaping up after the first round because our guys are contending. Tom Kim, 66-1, is tied for the lead. He's 5 under with a 65, along with Bernd Wiesberger, Patrick Cantlay, Rory McIlroy, and Rasmus Højgaard. 4 unders include Brooks Koepka, Minwoo Lee, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Kurt Kitayama. 3 under pars, Bobby Mack, who of course is part of our top 20 parlay, Wyndham Clark, who's playing very well lately. Patty's got a piece of him. And Canadian Corey Connors and Matt Fitzpatrick and Tommy Fleetwood. Nikolai Højgaard and Chris Gotterup, 2 under par right now. Victor Hovland as well. And our guy, pride of the Golf Dome, Sudarshan Yalamaraju, all there. We'll stay on top of that. Of course, if you are looking for a long-term home at one of Winnipeg's top private courses for you and your family, I encourage you to check out Breezy Bend. The last 10 years, the course has just been revolutionized. New holes, new patio, clubhouse, and more. It's just an incredible spot to golf, and they've got something for everyone. Great junior programs, ladies programs, great men's night, and awesome social events as well. breezybend.ca for more information on teeing it up at the Bend next year, or call our pal Corey Johnson over at the Pro Shop. Listen, it is going to be hot, hot, hot. And every month we love to check in with our pal Michael Grajewski in Travel, Manitoba. Today we're going to talk about beating the heat. First, though, a great way to beat the heat, cracking a cold one from our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Summer is here. The hot weather is finally upon us. Let's get some ideas to make the most of it right now with our pal Michael Grajewski from Travel, Manitoba. Michael, it is great to see you again. We've had some fun out at the ballpark and the Bomber game, but right now we're in the throes of summer, and it's all about the World Cup. Have you been enjoying the beautiful game and the run of our Canadian team?
I have been. I've been glued to almost every game. I've been DVRing them and watching them into the evenings. I'm kind of I'm in that withdrawal time right now as the numbers dwindle. Yeah, I mean, I ended up watching the Canada game from Patenzas out in Grand Marais while I was at the cottage last weekend. And it was great. It's an outdoor space, speakers, bunch of TVs, and then a bunch of just people from the beach that came down to watch the game. It was incredible. Great first half, not so great second half, but I think they acquitted themselves well. I'm really proud of the effort they put in. And I mean, it's the state of the men's soccer team in Canada right now is on a upward trajectory, and it's very exciting to see it come to fruition like that.
Well, it is. I mean, I think when this World Cup bid was sort of created for Canada to be a part of it, I think we were ranked 107th in the world in the FIFA rankings. We were behind North Korea. We are now a country on the rise. And what's exciting about our team is that when you look at, Jonathan Davies and Eustáquio and Defogier and Bombito, I mean, these are young guys that are going to be probably in their prime in 4 years. So I think the sport has made a huge step forward right now. And a big part of that is the World Cup bringing people together, giving people that don't normally watch soccer the chance to often get together in groups, which to me takes that experience to a whole nother level. And as we're talking about summer and ways to beat the heat, some of the great outdoor spaces and outdoor patios here in the city and beyond have been getting into World Cup fever as well. I know I've seen a bunch of people down at the Beer Can, which is not too far away from my spot, making the most of summer. And those are the experiences, I think, both for venues as well as for people that, combine to make just incredible summer experiences.
It's interesting. Last time we were talking about Folklorama and watching World Cup in groups, you kind of get a bit of a Folklorama vibe. I watched Spain, Portugal at the Beer Can a couple of days ago with a few friends, and then everyone else's friends. And there's Spain fans, Portugal fans. Everyone was very it was very positive environment. And what a beautiful place to watch a soccer game, under trees, outside, with either a mocktail or a pint. And you got Cosmos there, great food. It's a great spot. There's tons of these spots around Winnipeg and the province. Beer Cano's over by the Granite Curling Club over by the ledge there. But even out further west, you can head out to Cargo Bar, which is another outdoor space. They don't necessarily play the World Cup games, but again, another outdoor patio. That's a great spot to end up after a day at the Assiniboine Park, or maybe you've spent some time at the zoo, and before leaving the park, you can go again to Cargo Bar. It's a great, beautiful outdoor space that's licensed, which is nice. And there's a lot of these around town. I'm super fortunate to work here at the Forks, where we have the Common, which is just outside that way. And it's fantastic. You can have a pint, sit outside by the river. It's all licensed out there. And then you have all the variety of different kinds of foods you can order as well from all the different places in the market. And it's just such a beautiful space for you and your friends to hang out, or you and your family to spend some time outdoors.
Well, speaking of family, I like to go there with some friends and love jumping on the water with Winnipeg Waterways. Remo, turn your mic on for a minute, though. I know Remis, huge Common guy, and he's getting the next generation of little Remises in there as well. Remis, this is a big family spot for you guys these days.
Yeah, we love hitting the food court. You can order on your phone, really easy. You can walk around after. It's fantastic family experience. I know a lot of our friends are doing it as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Forks is the showcase of our city. Probably part of the reason why Travel Manitoba is headquartered there, and we're looking forward to getting out there, actually doing another show next month with you guys. But what's happened with the Common in that area is just taking it, and really a lot of this, Michael. I mean, as much as the brutal few years that we all endured through the pandemic, one of the positives that came out of that was the creation of these outdoor spaces for people that was really out of necessity at the time, that once they were put together, we realized, like, this is amazing. Let's do more of this and let's keep this going into the future. And I mean, that's why the beer can is now an institution of the summer. The Common and the Forks, obviously. Tell us about Gathercraft Kitchen. That's one that I was not familiar with.
Okay, so Gather's out at it's another spot out at Assiniboine Park. It's in the Leaf. So the Leaf is the new tropical biome. There's a display biome there. There's all the different biomes where you can enjoy the different plants and enjoy flowers and whatnot from around the world. But Gather is the restaurant that's at the Leaf, and they have this outdoor space that's just, again, another one of those, wow, especially after the spring that we've had, with all the rain that we've had recently. If you go outside, you will notice how lush it is. I haven't watered my grass all spring, actually. I'm like, hey, I'm saving water bills, saving on the water bill. But like, especially at this time of year, especially after all the rain we've had and the sun's starting to get hot and the weather is turning to a little bit warmer. It's such a beautiful space out there at Assiniboine Park. And again, it's just around the corner from everywhere. There's lots of options though outside the city. There's 1929 Dining and Lounge in Riding Mountain. Again, another great place to stop after a hike or mountain biking or fat biking or spending time at Clear Lake. The Dock on Princess in Brandon, Rendezvous Brewery and Tap Room in Morden, the Nighthawk Cafe in West Hawk Lake. Again, another great stop after the day at the beach. There's plenty of options around the province. Even the Lighthouse Restaurant and Lounge in Gull Harbor, waterfront views on Hecla Island. I don't know how much, there's so many different ways to enjoy the outdoors, especially with friends on a patio. And there's lots of options around the province.
Well, and listen, I mean, people, whether you're in the city or outside or taking it, I mean, go to travelmanitoba.com. You can get some great ideas for places that you maybe haven't been to. And if you've got an extra day or a weekend that's wide open, you can go and check it out. I will say this, Michael, looking at the forecast, we're finally being blessed with some big time Manitoba summer weather, and it is going to be getting steamy. And listen, you don't need to have a family right now to need to beat the heat. But that, I think, is going to be a major topic over the coming weeks. Let's talk about some ways to cool off over the next little while when we get into this time of year that we've basically been waiting for throughout the entire winter and spring.
Good things come to those who wait, and now's the time to cash in on this weather. Absolutely. One thing that I haven't done yet that I'm really looking forward to taking my kid to is Splish Splash Water Park. There's one in Morden, and then there's one out in Minnedosa. And I think you've had like Jason Agnew on the show before, long time ago. Yeah. So do you remember Wipeout Canada? He used to co-host that show. It's kind of like Splish Splash Water Park is like one of those obstacle courses. It's like a bouncy castle that's floating on the water that you they provide you with like a life jacket. Obviously you're signing waivers, but again, it's fun. It's like there's tons of different things.
This looks amazing.
Oh yeah. There's this big balloon thing that you can get on, and then people will jump onto it, and then you launch into the air, which is another great fun thing. So again, it's kind of like having like Wipeout Canada in your backyard. You can go play with your kids. You can go by yourself. It's a fun time. and that's out in Morden, and there's another one in Minnedosa. One that I recently went to, another option, or there's a lot of these outdoor water parks that are not necessarily on a lake. One that's close by, about 40 minutes from Headingley, is Splash Island in Portage la Prairie. I went this past weekend. It was absolutely perfect. You can there's a couple of water slides there. There's like a little river that takes you through a current. It's like a current pool that's constantly has the water moving. And, depending on if you have littles kids, there's a section of that area for everyone. It's amazing. Also, one of the best $4 Smokies I've ever had in the concession there. It was incredible. And tons of stuff. You can bring a beach towel. You can bring a beach umbrella. You can set up around there. If you go to their website, there's different times for when it's public swim. Sometimes there's open swim in the morning. You can see there's lanes there to go swimming laps in the morning. It's really, really nice option. And then there's Hoopla Island in Pinawa is another great option for these fun, adventure type, like a play structure in the water kind of thing. And again, it's lots of fun.
That Pinawa.
And then again,
I'm just going to say on Pinawa, I went out with a couple buddies and we played Granite on one day and then we played Pinawa the next day. And I had heard a lot about Pinawa. People had always told me, oh, this is a great golf course. What I was not prepared for and had no idea is that we were on, I don't know what, the 13th hole, and we look over and there are seemingly dozens and dozens and dozens of 20-somethings
floating along the water,
cruising down on the floating on the water. I'm like, how did I not know about this before?
Yeah, going down the tubes there is great. It's like you just float from one side and it takes you to the exit. And it's like, I mean, come on. You're outside, you got moving water, you got nature, and you're doing little to no work floating along the current. I don't know what gets better than that. And again, outside of, these parks, whatnot, there's tons of different aquatic centers around the province that are worth checking out. Stride Place in Portage la Prairie, again, big pool. I believe there's a indoor water slide there as well. And then even the Dauphin Kinsman Aquatic Center, there's a wave pool there. So there's all these different things. Steinbach Aquatic Center has a brand new facility. It's beautiful as well. So there's all these different places around where you can have indoor pools, outdoor pools, pools at some resorts like Hecla Resort, or we're looking at Elkhorn Resort. Again, if you're staying at a resort, or you want to have access to a pool, maybe you go to Elkhorn for a weekend, or Hecla, which is great. And then there's all the other options that are easier and more free. For example, is all the other beaches, all the great beaches. I know we talked about Grand Beach and Clear Lake a little while ago, but Birds Hill Beach, just outside the city by 10 minutes. It's not very far. It's close to Winnipeg. It's a shallow swimming area, and there's a playground there and food on site. Gimli Beach is another great option. It's so beautiful. You're near the boardwalk. You're near, fish and chips. Carlos Cachina is also there.
Oh my God, that burger.
I know,
burger
right?
at Carlos Cachina, I could do a 10-minute hit on that. We were out in Gimli for that. The guys brought us one. I have been literally planning on going back ever since I finished the last bite.
I love traveling like that, knowing that I'm gonna have that flavor again. I know I have a bunch of places like that in my own life that I'm like, I can't wait to go back there because of that burger or that thing or the food. And again, look how close Gimli is to the city, and you got the boardwalk there. You've got lots of different options in town there as well. St. Malo Beach is another one. Delta Beach, just north of Portage la Prairie. If you really want to cool off this summer, West Hawk Lake, that's a meteor crater, so it's one of the deepest lakes in the province, which means it's one of the coolest lakes in the province, at least for that how far north it is. And that's a great option, just east of the city as well. Yeah, and again, also you can look at Falcon Lake. Again, it's just across the way from West Hawk. Hop, skip, and a jump. There's Great town site there, lots of shops and restaurants as well. So you can make a full day of it.
That area is so beautiful out there. I'm pretty sure Westhawk is the deepest in the province, and Aikens Lake is number 2, and that is also created by, an asteroid or a meteor or something.
Meteor impact.
Way back when, that has these beautiful lakes. I mean, you can go, if you are new to the province or you're watching this program from elsewhere, coming back to visit, Travel Manitoba has so many ideas on and just general information on, okay, where are you? What's nearby? What you can go and check out. But whether it is, and the development of all these aquatic centers and pools is something that is, phenomenal for people. I mean, I don't remember. That's kind of really been over the last sort of 10, 15 years, these places have popped up, and now they are mainstays in summer. But, our Manitoba beaches and our Manitoba lakes, untouchable, and all that information there. I mean, the bottom line is it's going to be getting hot. Don't complain about it too, because we spend all winter going, oh,
no,
my
you don't
God,
get to do that.
Get it. But man, there's so many ways to make the most of your summer in Manitoba, beat the heat at the same point, and see some great areas of the province that you might not have been to before.
Absolutely. Yeah. More information, as always, at travelmanitoba.com. You can follow us on social media at travelmanitoba. Or, as always, come say hi. Come say hello. Come to the Visitor Information Center right here at the Forks. We have knowledgeable, personable, really friendly travel counselors who can help you plan a trip, answer questions, or just chat about the weather if you so desire.
Yeah, and then hang a hard right when you get outside and pop into the Common.
There you go.
Eat something to drink. And heck, as I always say, my number one suggestion, if you are at the Forks and if you haven't done it, jump on the boat with the Winnipeg Waterways guys. I know the water's really high right now with everything coming in from the west. But
they got the high dock out there now, right?
Exactly.
So
they're set
adapt
for you.
that.
So,
yeah.
I mean, you can jump in on the Forks, take it around. The tours are amazing. But right now, it is time to get wet, beat the heat, and see our amazing province. TravelManitoba.com is where you'll find all the information. And, of course, Michael, lots of fun stuff over on the socials at Travel Manitoba as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me, Huss. Glad to chat about everything that we can do around the province, and look forward to being back.
Yeah, you bet. And we're looking forward to seeing you and the gang at Travel Manitoba as well next month. We're just working on another date to go out and do a show down there. And maybe a few WSTers want to come out and enjoy the Common and whatnot after our show as well. Michael Remis.
After.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying after. Hey, work first. I try not
work first. Exactly.
It would be a very slippery slope if Winnipeg Sports Talk went down that road. Have a great weekend. I hope you can stay cool. And folks, again, travelmanitoba.com for more information on making the most of this hot weather and beating the heat in summer in Manitoba. All right, good stuff with Michael Grajewski, Travel Manitoba. And yeah, we're going to look to get back out there next month. And maybe we will hit the Common afterwards. Remo, let's, we got the World Cup getting going right now, France and Morocco. I figured this would be a good time to do a little Chud's Power Poll of the biggest busts of the World Cup. Teams that are no longer involved, that either had mega flameouts or were just incredibly disappointing. So let's start it off. By the way, it's brought to you by Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli, the Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for over 80 years, with the best in new and used inventory, with incredible financing. Definitely worth the drive out to Gimli, but you can check them out today online at chudspowersports.com. All right, we're going to go from 5 to 1 here?
Yeah, 5 to 1. This is the list. You ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock. Number 5 on this list is the United States of America. Got their asses absolutely handed to them in round 16 by Belgium. And that on its own probably wouldn't have got them on this list But when the president needs to make a call to try to get a red card suspension overturned, it ramps up the controversy around the team. And he was there playing. They were on home turf as the host nation, and they absolutely sucked. And that goal, the third goal, will go down in infamy as one of the most embarrassing goals ever conceded in the elimination round of the World Cup. So USA, you make the list, number 5 of the biggest busts of the World Cup. Now, I'm glad, Colombia in at number 4. Now, Colombia didn't lose a game, but they had high hopes to make it through the Swiss. They were not able to score a goal on the Swiss and ended up losing in penalties. And we could have had an all-South American matchup of Colombia and Argentina, which would have been phenomenal. But Colombia, in some ways, I think an example of a real disappointing run overall for the teams from South America. Colombia is in at number 4. Number 3 is Turkey. And I'm glad Murat's not on the program today because I don't want to rub it in. Turkey, many people thought were going to win their group. They ended up losing their first 2 games, winning their third game, which was basically a nothing game, and still not making it through to the elimination round. So, I mean, in an expanded World Cup where 32 of the teams made it, for Turkey to not get out of the first round, colossal disappointment. Turkey in at number 3. Number 2 is Brazil. It was not Yoga Bonita. It was a thud, and they got whacked by the Viking Erling Haaland. The 2 Haaland goals were absolutely phenomenal in that second half. Neymar put lipstick on a pig with a penalty goal at the end of the as the time ran out and changed a 2-0 win into a 2-1 win for Norway. But Norway's been one of the great stories of this World Cup. They're on to the quarters, and losing in the round of 16 just doesn't cut it for the multiple-time world champions. So Brazil, number 2 on the list. And at number 1, it's got to be Germany. The Germans have an incredible, rich history at the World Cup. Got tons of world-class players. They have one of the best leagues in the world outside of the Premiership. And they lose to Paraguay on penalties. And they took the foot off the gas in their last game of the group stage as well. So for a world power like Germany to be out, Brazil to be out, they round it up. There's your today's World Cup edition of the Chud Power Sports Power Poll of the biggest busts of the World Cup, brought to you by our friends at chudspowersports.com. Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. Go up, say hi to the Derminator, and get yourself something to take your summer to the next level. All right, Remo, let's get to the Cool Bet lines before we retire back to some World Cup action. We got France and Morocco going at it right now. It is 0-0. France is minus 167 to win. We're in the 17th minute. The draw is plus 280. Morocco 6-1. I did find it interesting. Like, I think Morocco's dangerous, and it would not be insane to think that Morocco could actually win the tournament. They were at 30-1 earlier today. But as I mentioned, you could get when they had the bet where it was like which nation or which organization will win. 6 of the 8 teams are Euro teams, so they're UEFA. So UEFA's like minus 833. CONMEBOL, which is the number on Argentina, was 4-1. They're the only team left. And yet, despite being 30-1 to win the World Cup, rest of the world, which only includes Morocco, was 33. So I did take advantage of that line. I got a little piece of Morocco, but I'm hoping Norway. I think Norway's the best bet right now if you want a longer shot. 16-1, that number right now. But let's get over to the CFL. Do not forget, gang, to get your picks in for the weekly CFL Pick'em over at CoolBet. It's under CoolBet Leagues. You can find it in the promotions tab. As you can see, Remis, if you're on a desktop, bottom left under sports. Let's get your picks in for that. As far as the action goes for the CFL, we have 4 games, and one of them is tonight, and it's Ottawa and the Edmonton Elks. Ottawa, 6.5-point underdogs tonight. Edmonton -6.5, -312 on the money line, and the over/under for this game is 57.5. Other games, Bombers still 2.5-point dogs, +126 on the Bombers to win. I like the value. I can't lose 3 in a row at home. Argos -2.5 and Toronto -154. The Stamps are 3.5 underdogs, 3.5-point dogs in Montreal. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders are 8.5-point underdogs, favorites, I should say, against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who are going to be starting Jake Dolegala. Now, if you click over into the exclusives, you will see the WST parlay, the CFL 110 boost. Hammer and I cooked this up. Edmonton Elks -6.5. Calgary Stampeders +3.5. Riders -8.5. And you could not make the Rider line high enough for me not to bet against the Hamilton Tiger Cats this week with Jake Dolegala. That is a beautiful boost. It was +580 when we did it. Patty and the guys have it posted in the exclusives of +675. So if you want to ride with us, jump on that. There's some other great exclusives for the game tomorrow. First of all, if you want to bet on McGregor, go to the exclusives. It's boosted to +215. Spain to win in 90 minutes tomorrow, -115 boost. Harry Kane to score 2 against Norway is up to +750. And the GOAT, Lionel Messi, to score versus Switzerland, +110. Those are in the CoolBet daily exclusives. We got Sinner and Djokovic going at it in the Wimbledon semifinal. Sinner, a huge favorite at -455 for that one. And man, that British kid that is now into the semifinals qualifier, Arthur Ferry, he's +550 dog again against Zverev, and he's still 27-1 to win the tournament. We'll see whether the Cinderella story can continue. It's all up there. The McGregor fight, Wimbledon, CFL, Scottish Open, and of course, Major League Baseball, all waiting for you at CoolBet. If you haven't played there before, use the promo code WST when you're making your first deposit, and we'll double it up to $200. But again, just making an account and play in the free CFL contest. Weekly prizes of $50, and the season winner, Ted Lee 2, is now the guy we're all chasing, getting a trip from CoolBet to the to the Grey Cup, not the World Cup, the Grey Cup in Calgary, 113th version coming up in November. Tickets, hotel, airfare, courtesy of our friends at CoolBet. And again, great time last night playing poker. 2 more chances to qualify for the CoolBet Open Final. We're going to be sending someone to a big Euro poker event in Estonia with airfare, hotel at the Olympic Casino in Tallinn, Estonia, and the buy-in for the main event. So July 21st and August 5th, 8 p.m. Those are your final 2 dates to qualify, and that final tournament will be the next week. Good stuff, Reem. Tomorrow we'll have Kyle Steeves on, the rugby player from Winnipeg, ahead of the Canadian rugby team coming to the Peg a week from Saturday. But we'll also really dive into tomorrow's game. Dustin Nielsen, my partner from the Lock Shop. Dusty's in town. He's calling the game. He'll join us to get ready for Bombers Argos. Ed Tate as well from a Bomber perspective. And we'll hit some hockey. We'll hit some football, hit all sorts of stuff with Jeff Hamilton as the Hammer's back on the program. And as well, Kyle Steeves from the Canadian national rugby team. Hometown kids, St. Paul's product, our only player on the national team. That is all coming up tomorrow on the program. Thanks to Ken Wiebe. Thanks to Ben Grant, who joined us. Aaron Bronstetter in Vegas. And, of course, Michael Grajewski from Travel Manitoba. It is gorgeous outside. Get out there, maybe hit a patio, or, as I'm doing, get your butt to Boston Pizza for the second half of this France-Morocco game, and then have a great night. We will see you tomorrow, a big Friday show, getting ready for tomorrow's Bombers-Argos game. It all starts at 1 right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great night. Thanks for watching, and thanks to all of our sponsors for making the show happen every day.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.